It's a federal designation, and so whenever the federal government gets involved, there's a lot of complications, and sometimes for good reason, and other times maybe not for so much obvious reason. Is there can be what could be perceived as red tape and other things, and so a CDFI, it's designed to help make sure that the financing is getting to where it needs to go. And it's a program run by the U.S. Department of Treasury, I believe. And so that's first and foremost. And then different financial organizations can become a designated institution to help get those funds to where they need to go. And so if they follow a certain amount of criteria. And so that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how I view the CDFI program. So the challenge in the South Bend are challenges that you would have across the country. I mean, we're a Rust Belt city that had our peak population many decades ago. We're growing again, but we still have some neighborhoods that have seen a disinvestment over those decades. And so, unfortunately, once that happens, the market is not as favorable for regular financial institutions to be able to provide their financial products. And so for us, it's really is getting the funds where they need to go. And in many ways, it's these distressed neighborhoods, whether it's housing or businesses or other, it's getting the funding where it needs to go most. I was over working in the Department of Community Investment under former Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and started a new division in that team called Engagement and Economic Empowerment, and that team connected with the Federal Reserve of Chicago. So some folks from the Federal Reserve came to town, started talking about different opportunities, the Community Reinvestment Act, as well as CDFI opportunities. And then from there, we got connected actually in Indiana, down south, the mayor of Bloomington. So John Hamilton had worked on CDFI Friendly, and so he came up. We had some panels, discussed it with the community, and so that's ultimately how we got connected and how we got it established here in South Bend. I mean, who does it help? It helps the people who don't have access to traditional financing and financial services. So, like we said, this is getting money oftentimes where it's needed most. And it's those distressed neighborhoods. It's those groups that have historically not had the same access to financial capital. And so really making sure that everyone has the resources to be able to thrive. The CDFIs in South Bend, they've helped get some affordable housing, multi-family housing units here in South Bend, as well as other creative projects. There's a project that is seeking to be kind of a co-working space. So part of it is, on these capital-intensive, construction projects to make these spaces available. But also they've helped some of our entrepreneurs here in South Bend be able to get the access to capital to move and advance their business. Well, we have a lot of good ideas and a lot of energy and creativity. So, we've been working here locally on small scale developers and building up that knowledge base. So, one thing, you have to know how to put a project together. But then even if you get a project put together in concept and planning, you then have to fund it and finance it. And so we have a lot of groups that would not necessarily qualify for those traditional financial services, and we've been working to get them access to the capital they need to make their projects a reality. So that's first and foremost. But we also have folks who are working on their businesses, have good ideas for business ideas. Housing, we know that's a challenge across the country, and it's a challenge here in South Bend. We don't have the number of housing units that we need, and we certainly don't have the number of affordable housing units that we need. So this is something that this is a tool that helps us advance all of those causes. It's a great question of how the funding comes together. And so we were able to put together. We had some what we call here redevelopment funds that are not fully restricted to the normal redevelopment fund. So we were fortunate enough to have a revenue stream that was very flexible, and so we were able to dedicate a portion of those funds. I know we had conversations with our local philanthropies to help come on board and anchor institutions, and those are strategies we use for a number of different priorities for us. But in this case, ultimately, we were fortunate enough to have a flexible funding source that we could put toward this. So if you're thinking about bringing CDFIs, if you're a mid-sized town like South Bend, we've had some organizations, a financial institution and a community development organization have tried to get the CDFI status here locally in the past. One has been successful, and one it just doesn't qualify based off of some of the eligibility criteria. So if you're not able to make it work with organizations locally, then you got to try to figure out how do you attract those resources from outside your city, and that's exactly what CDFI Friendly is about. Is how do you make it a good environment in your city and an attractive environment in your city to bring those resources and help your city and neighborhoods go forward. So it's really about that, and whether it's helping on a financial side to make that go, or also part of the cost for an outside CDFI coming into a city is they don't know the city, they don't know what opportunities are there, and they don't know the full context. And so if you're able to package that together and show them the opportunities, that reduces the acquisition costs that they have to go through to make the projects move. So it can run a whole gamut of help, but really, capital is going to, it goes to the easiest places first, just like water flowing downhill. But if you want to get it to somewhere else, you got to work at it. And so that's what this is all about.